Facebook. My name is Chad. With me, as always, on the left side of your screen is Gregson, who's miraculously here on a Monday, which is shocking. And yes, we are here on a Monday. However, in between us, a man that needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to give him an overly enthusiastic one anyway. You might know him from such YouTube videos as Hoovy tests out his Bugatti Veyron. He has his own YouTube channel called Elliott Alvis. He's also the man at Worldwide Auctions, and he is absolutely our favorite car simp. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Elliott Alvis.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you guys for having me, as always.
It's a pleasure to have you with us on the show, man. It's always a good time when you can cut out from what is becoming an ever busier schedule to give us a little bit of time on our little show here. So we very much appreciate that. Or at least I do. I don't know about Greg.
No,
I'll take it.
I'm super angry you're here, always.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you were absent so often. I had to.
It's annoying.
God, what a jerk.
God, no. It's always fun to be here with you boys. And like I said, it was cool to meet up with you guys in person last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to need to happen again for sure.
It's going to need to happen again for sure.
It's something I'm like vaguely sort of kind of working on at the moment.
Okay. I like that. I like the foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
No, it's something like in some of the chats I'm a part of and stuff. It's like everybody's like, we should do this, we should do that, we should. I'm like, let's settle down. I tried to shoot for the moon last year and it failed spectacularly for 50% of it. So
It wasn't your fault though.
right,
I will say.
but
Yeah.
but at any rate, it is something I'm working on. Something we plan on bringing back, because it is cool to get out there and meet people like Elliott and, you know, our viewers, things of that nature. So one thing I did want to do is, since his last appearance on the show, Elliott
Yes.
Elliott has you've done a thing with some other car enthusiasts.
I have.
And, I know some of you have seen it because I've tried to share it and what have you. Doug, welcome, my dude. But, Elliott, you are now an official, according to the internet, car simp.
I am. Yeah, we launched. It's kind of weird going to another podcast to talk about another podcast, but
It's what 99.9% of podcasts are. It's other
that's true,
podcasts
but it is
say,
one of those
that's-
things where
that's
you're
what
like,
we're
hey,
supposed to do.
actually watch me on this other thing. No, Tyler Hoover and I of Hoovy's Garage, along with our friend Rob, started a podcast called Car Simps. We shoot it in Hoovy's Garage. We've recreated the Top Gear set like to a T, except for with a little bit of Hoovy twist on it. And yeah, we've got a full like setup. We do like a 3-camera shoot. It's a pre-record rather than a live stream. But
Which,
you know,
if I have to say, as someone who does the live route, pre-recording, much easier.
it is and isn't. I feel bad because we've got Jake doing editing and stuff like that because we don't cut anything out. So it's not that. It's not we're trimming the fat. It's just that it's pre-recorded because of the 3 cameras and switching between them. And you know, it's just been it's been a fun little ride. You know, it's been something we've been working on for months, but now we're releasing episodes. You know, it's been interesting. It's not just kind of a as you've seen, Chad, thank you for watching what you've watched. It's not exactly one of those, you know, hey, just come on and we have a general overall subject that we're going to talk about today and kind of wing it, which is great. And I love that kind of podcast. This is Hoovy gives us like homework. It's like, hey,
I bet he loves that. He's like, all right, boys.
He does love it. He's like, because like the some of the ones that I've done, I'm like, that's the first I'm hearing that's what my subject is going to be. So here we go.
No, but it is a very interesting. It is a pretty cool format because you guys, and we'll get onto this much later in the show, but you guys managed to make the dumpster fire that is Infiniti interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, that was a big undertaking, honestly, because he was like, "You were going to be Infiniti." I was like, "Oh crap!" I mean, I know some, but let's really dive into it. So that's kind of what the show is. I'm just kind of giving an overview. Is Rob and I take turns essentially grabbing the reins for storytelling. and really taking deep dives into various automotive subjects or things that are at least automotive adjacent, things that you might be familiar with but definitely don't know all like the nitty gritty details of. And so it's kind of fun in that regard because we're kind of honestly we're telling the stories to the audience and to Tyler, who may have helped come up with the idea but is genuinely hearing all of this stuff for the first time. Whoever's week it is to kind of lead the storytelling, the other two of us are in there genuinely just being like, oh, like we're all soaking it in, as the new information, like it's a lot of fun. It's a cool format. And like I said, Rob's he's a liquor distributor, so he always brings in some kind of whiskey or something for us to sip on. We do a lot of fun stuff. And like I said, the first one, I'll give it to you. It was a little long. We didn't know, it was one of those, like I was tackled with, of course, a big subject for me. And I'm like, I got to cover this all in a single sitting. So it ended up going way too long, but every other episode is a reasonable, normal, like hour and a half podcast length. And like I said, we've all known each other in the podcast for so long that I feel like the dynamic is decently natural as far as us ribbing each other, giving each other crap and, just kind of making jokes and stuff.
Can definitely tell that there's like a real world friendship behind the show. It's something that like I hope comes across with us. Take nothing away from yourself, but like Greg and I have known each other for over 20 years and stuff. I hope that kind of comes across and things like that. And I'll say this, of the three so far, I think the Corvette was long, but it justified it, if that makes sense, as any sort of like feedback. Like it wasn't long to the point it's like, okay, just get to the end of the story already. It wasn't like that. It was every single step along the journey, and because it was an interesting subject matter, and I listen to stuff in the car, so unless I'm like, it's either sports talk radio or podcast. So when I drive, it works. So for me, but it's a great job.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. Your dog agrees.
Yeah. Hi, dude.
And Steve, we'll get to that in a second. But there was one thing on the last episode, where you guys were talking, and it was right after the part where you're sitting there and you're talking about having a 350Z convertible and talking to people about how you couldn't bring it to campus and everything like that.
Right.
So it was after all of that.
Great.
I went to kind of, I don't know how to say this delicately, but to sort of borrow from the inspiration behind Car Simps and paraphrase Top Gear, I went on the internet and I found this.
Oh no. What did we find? Hold on.
I'm so excited for what's about to happen. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh gosh. Did you? Oh no. Oh, because this was up in the subject. Did you find my commercials?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Tyler brought this up, and I think it's so funny you caught on to that because it was such a small portion of the podcast. And he had just brought up at like his wedding shower. He walked up to like me and somebody else and was like, "Hey, did he ever tell you? Look what he used to do." And it was like this thing. I was like, "Oh no, what is this?" I honestly have sometimes forgotten about this portion of my life. So I'm like, "What is it?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah."
When Chad does a deep dive, he does a deep dive. They're a deep cut. Chad's favorite YouTube channel right now is the Fat Electrician, and if you know anything about that, it's deep cut.
Yeah, it was
not cuts as in bad things. Deep cuts as in like good tracks on a good album. No, I'm not saying that for you guys. I'm saying that for people that are watching, because they might not be like, "What do you mean?"
Your computer, hard drive, operating system, or something more serious? Whatever the problem, bring it to Ribbit. Ribbit Computer Service will revive, rejuvenate, rehabilitate, and have your buddy back on his little rubber feet in no time. Ribbit Computers, with 2 Wichita locations, are ready to roll. Ribbit service team and service for both PCs and Macs. So no matter what's wrong with your computer, relax. It's Ribbit.
I came back home for and filmed on a break.
Well done.
Like, I have no speaking lines, and like, as Tyler can attest, he even brings it up on the podcast, and I'm sure it's not the last time. Local commercials around here, because like, you know, before regular YouTube and all that stuff, it was like, hey, you just kind of had to catch what was on TV. You know, you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
And these commercials were pumped out so often that even me, as like a child who had no speaking lines, if I went to the grocery store, they'd be like, "You're the guy." Like, it just became like nobody knew what my name was or anything like that. But they're like, "I've seen you. You're on the commercial." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then there eventually were like 5 different ones, and they would all kind of just like shuffle them. But they were on every channel, every commercial break. It seemed like.
I really want to go into this and just like ad lib some dubbed stuff over, like, "Here's your shitty computer."
Yeah,
like, this is what's wrong, bitch.
You could. Dude, if you guys could jersey this commercial series up, it'd be so good.
Oh my god, yes, absolutely. Oh,
just some thought bubble. But yeah, so they mentioned it, and I was like, huh. So I paused. I was driving when I was listening to it, so I paused it, and I was like, I absolutely cannot forget this. I absolutely have to remember to Google this when I get home. So I pulled off to the side of the road, typed it in, and I'm like, well, shit, if I'm typing it, I might as well Google it.
Might as well check it out.
And fortunately for Elliott, this was the only one I could really find. I could have done some more digging, but there was a lot of like their newer stuff that I had to sift through to find, well, let's just face it, the gold.
There's a little smooth baby face Elliott right there.
But yeah, so next week we're going to have the video I found of Greg recording his first rap album.
Oh
no, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, like, that exists.
I honestly wish that existed. That would be. I would be very much okay with that, because it would be horrible in the best and worst way, and I'd be cool with showing it because I don't care. I'm 40.
I would love to see. I'm already imagining you being like cheesy early 80s rapper, like, you know, my name is Greg and I'm here to say.
Computer, hard drive,
Volvo,
operating system, or something more
That was very
serious?
solid. That was very.
Whatever the problem, bring it to Ribbit. Ribbit Computer Service will revive, rejuvenate, rehabilitate, and have your buddy back on his little rubber feet in no time. Ribbit Computers, with 2 Wichita locations, are ready to roll. Ribbit service team and service for both PCs and Macs. So no matter what's wrong with your computer, relax.
It's like half her fucking head.
What's with your computer? Hard drive, operating system,
it was like the Bryce Dallas
something
before
more
Bryce Dallas became popular.
serious.
No.
Whatever the problem, bring it to Ribbit. Ribbit Computer Service will revive, rejuvenate, rehabilitate, and have your buddy back on his little rubber feet in no time. Ribbit Computers, with 2 Wichita locations, are ready to roll. Ribbit service team and service for both PCs and Macs. So no matter what's wrong with your computer,
it works now, sweetheart.
It's Ribbit.
Look at this freaking thing.
But yes, there was a time in my life where I had a 350Z convertible, and I was on local TV, and I felt like I had 0 spoken lines. I just was like cheesing it up on a local commercial, spinning a computer around and like smiling, being like,
So now all we need to do for this, whenever you're on here, Chad needs to have a call out of your head that says local celebrity Elliott.
Yes, local celebrities. Like, also, like, a long time ago, to the point where nobody recognized. The only thing I get is every once in a while an older person will say, "You look so familiar," and I'll just have to be like, "I promise I've never met you." And then I'm like,
"Did you ever get your PC repaired at Ribbit?
I was like,
Ribbit
I used to be on local commercials.
You might be entitled to compensation."
Yeah, I was on mesothelioma commercials.
What you got to do is freak him out and be like, "There's just like, oh, you look really familiar." And be like, "Yeah, I've been hiding in your bushes. I've been trying to reach you about your car."
No, you're like, "Oh, you were stationed at Camp Lejeune? I'm so sorry."
Oh my god, yes. You gotta screw them. That's the best.
But yeah, so I'm glad that Tyler brings it up. I legit, until he brought it up as his wedding shower, I honestly, it's one of those things where it was like a really fun time, and then it's been so long that I'm like, I kind of forgot about that. And then like he brings up, I'm like, oh yeah. And then if you look him up, like, these are pretty cheesy, so here we go. And like I said, I can't believe Chad was only find the one. I have like 3 of them favorited on my like YouTube channel. So
nice.
There's some ones where it's fantastic. But it was a very fun time in my life. Hey, thank you for the podcast for exposing this.
Yes, without Car Simps, I would have never have known that. No,
it's not like I'm gonna bring it up with you guys. Like we're never gonna get to the subject of like, have you guys ever been on a local TV commercial that played all the time?
Were you?
Well, it's great. Now it's public information, so we can use it at our disposal.
The link
but they didn't. It's not like they attached my name to it or anything like that. So you can't just like Google like Elliott Alvis commercial. Like nothing comes up.
Right. I did do Elliott Alvis Ribbit commercial, and it was like in there. I think it picked up on a lot of the other keywords. And guys, if you want to go and save it, or Doug, you're a creative human person.
Yeah.
Do your best with that. I mean, I thought about doing some creative stuff with that, like as far as like tonight's teaser, like on tonight's show.
It's me turning around a computer with no beard or, like
with no context whatsoever.
Yeah, they're like, what the hell, what's tonight's show going to be about? I have no idea. No, it was the highlight of that whole series though was like, so again, like I said, this was before everybody was just constantly staring at their phones. Because like smartphone, like it was like most people didn't even have a smartphone yet. I remember they showed it during the MTV VMAs, and I was like, "Oh my god, this has got to be the coolest thing." Like, obviously not nationwide, but locally. So it's like I knew next day at school, people would be like, "I saw it," and I'm like, "Yeah, that was me," because I was still in high school when it happened. I was like, "All right, that was pretty cool."
That wasn't even college. That was high school.
I was like, that was pretty cool because I was like, I know for a fact I'm gonna go to school the next day, and it's be like people saw my commercial on the VMAs. Which again, this is such an antiquated statement at all. People are gonna be like, who cares, and why was that a big deal? But no, yeah, fun time.
Yeah,
that's
thanks
awesome.
for
bringing that up.
And I will say, great find, Chad. Great.
Yes, excellent find, Chad. Against my better judgment, I might have to send you the ones that are harder to find.
Yes.
So remind me about that tomorrow, and I will find them and send some of them.
I mean, to be fair, you saw from the teaser that I made for tonight or for the month, really. I don't really need to make embarrassing videos about us.
That's true. You can just come up with them, and thanks to the tech of AI, it's just
well, basically what it is I'll be brutally honest. Some guys makes these about like Formula One and they're funny and stuff like that, and I was like, I can use that.
Yeah. And we all look mega chiseled in that Baywatch one.
Yeah, and I me personally am not of the chiseled variety.
But you put that image on a dating profile, dude, you're good.
With the shark in the background.
Yeah. And just be like, this is an actual thing.
And that's my actual hair.
Yes.
But it's glad you're a good sport, because I was like,
of course.
up until
I'm not. I mean, I'm embarrassed by them, but I'm not, because I thought it was like, I was like, this is still really cool at the time. And now looking back, goodness, I have a library of way more embarrassing footage, I would say now. So I'm like, I remember I was just a kid. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, shoot. There's footage of me as a kid in high school, but nothing in high definition. So
right, exactly. It's like, it was YouTube before YouTube, and thank God it's been preserved on YouTube.
Yes. And I may or may not have ripped it off of YouTube, and it's on both of my PCs. Maybe.
Oh, good. So you can hopefully AI can go nuts with that with young Elliott.
I mean, to be fair, my first thought is to just put Greg's face on bangs.
Dude, that's hilarious. Just if you can make it perfectly where Greg's face is still covered by that absolute curtain.
Yes.
Of it's an awning is what I would describe it as. It's like it's like it's
hair
insane.
Awning.
Yeah, it's
that
insane.
sounds awful.
Yeah. I hope I don't know that girl's name. I didn't know her name when we were shooting it, and I hope her hair is not like that anymore. Good news, I feel super confident she's not watching this right now.
Well, surprise number 2, Elliott joining the show. Bangs McPherson.
Yeah,
could you imagine?
A fourth window appears. I'm like, oh no.
Yes.
Oh my God. It turns into an episode of this is your life, and like voices come back.
I would love this if it's just this entire episode is you just being like, guess what? Do you have a biggest fear? And it's just where things keep happening and like, God.
It's like, not only did we find her, Elliot, she has some paperwork for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, no.
No, illegitimate children.
It was a one-day shoot. Why are you doing this to me?
Oh man, my little Clarence 13. What's going on?
Anyway, yes. Back to it. The podcast has been very fun. We do have it on all major platforms, but yeah, YouTube's kind of the place to watch it, even though it's long form because of the 3-camera deal, and you can see the TV which we're referencing things at. I feel a little bad because like one of the things you have to do when it's your week is prep. You got to try to find the photos that support the things you're talking about, but sometimes like I don't have time. And so it's just making our poor producer scramble and find them as I'm talking about them. And you're like, he does a great job, though. I mean, the Corvette one was a little struggle, but again, it was the first episode. So, what are you going to do? But, yeah, we've had some fun ones. There was one that was supposed to come out today, but it'll come out tomorrow. That is actually a lot of fun. It is the one that we've kind of been teasing a lot. It's the cars that serial killers drove. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun because a lot of the podcast universe is centered around people loving to hear about serial killers. So we were able to kind of, intersect the two about being like, all right, well, here's serial killers. Like, what kind of, did they have anything cool? Was it not? But like, you never really hear specifically what they drove. I mean, especially I've listened to these serial killer podcasts with various girlfriends over the years, and it's been like, oh yeah, and he took his car, and like it's just unspecified of to the next location.
What's the car?
Yeah, and you're kind of like, well, what is it? He kind of seems like a Pinto guy. Like I don't know. Like it's just interesting to find out what they actually drove, and I think we did a fun way of including that, and of course we're just having fun screwing around. So
yeah,
I think this next one I'm pretty excited about. I'm trying to think what's after that. And we're filming one tomorrow, so.
Oh, nice.
So
the. Oh shoot, that's the wrong link. No. Hold on 1 second. So just to be clear, the cars serial killers drove is coming out
tomorrow morning.
So.
Yes.
Everyone is going to need to pay attention to this space because, or not this space, Elliott's space, and this space.
Or this space, either some space. Pay attention to some space.
Pay attention to car space.
Yes. And the other thing I want to talk about, which we talk about a little bit on the podcast, people really hate the name in the comments. I think it's funny, and like everybody that I've told thinks it's funny, like because they get it. Because like we're like kind of simping out for cars, but like there's the overwhelming comments are about like, this name is so embarrassing. I'm afraid to recommend it because I can't say it out loud, and I'm like, that seems ridiculous.
I think that has a big thing to do with the OF community and how like people have now transitioned to like simping for girls and vice versa at a smaller simping for guys on the female side or whatever your chosen preference is. The term simp has become this very dirty word in a sense of just like you can't make fun of it, but you guys are, and I like that. It's almost half reclaiming it in the sense, not that it needs to be reclaimed, right. But it's more of just like, it's a funny play off of it. It's just like, well, simp doesn't necessarily mean like a bad thing. It's just like you're obsessed with something. It's the lexicon is not a bad word. Or a particularly dirty word. It's more of just like, oh, I'm obsessed with cars. Like right. I get it,
and that's what we were going for, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just like I found the comment section interesting, as comment sections are, as you guys know. And I've even tried to tell the guys, I was like, listen, there's a possibility that it's a loud minority rather than like most people. It's just like I think most people go ha and like enjoy it and listen to it, but the people who don't like it are more vocal, a la like a negative restaurant review. Like if you go and enjoy a restaurant, you're probably not going to say anything. But if you're just like 10 times more likely to leave a negative review of something you don't jive with for one reason or another. And I've relayed that to the boys, but we'll see. And like I said, a lot of the name suggestions are Hoovy heavy, where they're like, well, just call it like Hoovy After Hours and this blah blah blah. And I was like, well, it's not exactly what it is. So, I mean, I'd be interested for additional name suggestions. People obviously suggested Bottom Gear, but that's already a thing, and I believe already pornography. So,
yeah, don't go for that.
No, yeah. So that's not at the top of the list, but it is funny. Like, I guess, yes, we're knocking off the set and everything else, but no, we're not exactly going that much of a knockoff. I mean,
yeah.
Yikes. But, I'd be interested to hear what the Shifting Lanes community thinks of the name. I mean, like I said, I know I'm biased because I was supportive of it, but I mean, they were actually going to change April's Garage to Car Simps before this. And then we just kind of held on to it as like that's a great name. Like, we should use it for something, but not that.
Yeah.
And this makes more sense. It's the three of us, absolutely like, we gush over certain subjects. Like, we are like, as you kind of described, simps for various cars. Like, I'm a total Corvette simp. Like, I mean, that's a weird way to describe it, but it's totally accurate. Like, I'll excuse a Corvette through a lot of stuff. And whatever else. And everybody else is their simps for various things. Rob is a big Ford guy. Chad is, so I'm sure you'd know that or love that.
Yes, the Stang Bang.
The Stang Bang.
As Tyler likes to repeatedly mention.
That's great.
It is. I mean, it was a real event, and it really is funny because he did legitimately meet his wife at an event called the Stang Bang. And it really is. I was like, you guys chose that name in like 2003 or something. Like, that would have been like a risque name.
Yeah.
Be like, we can't print flyers for this, which is what you would have had to be doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I said, it's just funny. We just have interesting jabs, and as you know, Tyler is no shortage of jabs for me.
Yes, he is.
Not shy.
Well, no, I was trying to put it because, like, in a certain aspect, because I was watching it and I was like, this feels familiar, and I was like, he's making you like, not that this is what you guys were going for, but what's it called? It's the dynamic. I see a lot of myself in Greg. Like, you are or Greg is to me what you are to Tyler, right? Like,
yeah. And
you're both like awesome sports about it. Take it. One thing I did want to mention on the name or what have you, is we actually have fellow internet celebrity, and when I say fellow, I mean obviously compared to Elliott. True Game Data in the YouTube chat, and he goes, I don't know if it's relevant, but I don't think you are allowed to use the word simp in a name on Twitch.
That is correct.
Really?
Yeah, so Twitch, because Twitch is where a lot of this shit comes from. Like, a lot of these like new terms and like crazy lexicon that you see on the internet, it comes from Twitch and chats and gamer streams and all this stuff. So that's 100% accurate. So True Game Data is very nice.
Tell him thank you. Well, if he's listening, thank you. Yeah. I might bring that to the table as a thing. Like, it might even stifle other platforms. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's naming something is so hard because let's look.
We thought it was original and funny and also pretty true and then topical because like that is in the lexicon now. It's like I thought it described it perfectly. Like, oh yeah, like I mean, you could say like, oh, Gregson totally simps for Volvos, like,
right.
And it wouldn't be like a in the car world. We wouldn't use it derogatorily. It's not like. It is, but that's also what's funny about it is it's implied, But anyway, I don't need to over-explain it, but
yeah,
it is interesting to know.
It's just naming stuff. Like, look at some of the most successful car channels are just like the dude's name.
Well, it's nonsense. Tavarish.
Yeah.
The hell does that even mean?
I believe it's friendship in Russian.
I'm sure.
I was just gonna say, we know that one because Freddie told us what it is.
Okay.
Well, I learned it actually from.
I mean, I was being a little exaggerated. I really didn't know what it meant, but I was like, I've been with him all weekend.
But right.
So it's like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I still would be like, dude, what the hell does that even mean? But we all know it now, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah, well, that's like, I think, honestly, when it comes to stuff like this, as long as you're not violating any TOSs, right? Like, let's look at it this way, right? Like, hopefully, the robots that are listening to this have the context of our conversation. But look at like Vehicle Virgins. You remember that channel?
Oh yeah, I've met Parker several times.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't say the V word on Twitch.
Oh yeah, well probably because too many people called each other virgin. You know, like it's an insult too often.
Yeah.
Stop disconnecting yourself,
if you
Greg.
can't tell people to touch grass pretty soon.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's gonna be like, hey, that's actually not cool to the nutritionist community who cares for grass and knows that the human oils are not good for the grass.
I think the net here is you're not going to please everyone. So
no, and I know that.
Yeah, but like the TOS is so like
kind of fine with Car Simps, and I was like, if you can't utter those words, that's insane to me.
I agree.
And like that was one of the comments that stood out, and it was like really heavily like thumbs up. I was like, you can't say it out loud. I was like, that's pretty outlandish. It's not like it's a very crazy hurtful word or like embarrassed. I don't know. I just was like, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. And if you're getting that offended by it, maybe you should do some inward inflection.
Exactly. Maybe. And also, I'm okay if this podcast isn't for you.
Right.
It's like, it's interesting. Like I've never read a word and be like, I can't say that out loud to a friend. Like,
yeah. Well, maybe
certain words,
but
you know what I mean.
But yeah, like certain, like this word, simp. That's not a word I would be like, oh yeah, you can't say that. That's terrible.
Sure.
How dare you?
Its origins is in the word sympathizer.
Right.
Like it comes from like I think it's because it also has like Tony just said or whatever. Like some people have like it means different things to different people. Like I would sit here and say, I would simply sit here and say it's like, look, I think it's cool. Like again, Carroll Shelby said it best when it comes to cars. Okay. Yes, to Ford V8s. No, what he said is, if a car's crap, a great name won't save it, and if a car's great, the name won't matter.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty true.
You know,
and then he made the Mustang
anything.
2 Cobra.
I mean, well, Shelby in like that mid-range between like basically when muscle cars died in 72.
Yeah, you couldn't do anything about it.
Basically, the turn
85.
The turn of the century,
when
he was messing around with like a bunch of Chrysler stuff, like the front wheel drive Charger, when he was messing around
Omni.
with the Omni, the Go Like Hell Omni,
you
know, to where he was a factory team for Toyota, racing the Celicas and stuff against Paul Newman and the Datsuns. It's all the way up through like the late 90s when he was working with Durangos, right? Like that's just sort of a Kel Shelby's a legend. We're just going to pick this up and put this over here. But when he came back, things were great. But like the Mustang 2, right? Like nobody liked it, and he was just this. Carroll Shelby wanted money. That's pretty much it. He was going to go where the money went.
I don't blame him for anything that happened. It's you know. And now I actually think the Mustang 2 Cobra is kind of neat just because it's such a wacky little car. But I don't want to get too far off the subject. I know exactly what you're going with and going for here. Because, I mean, remember, the Shelby as a brand Series 1 has, like, very little to do with Ford. You know,
it's an Oldsmobile engine, right?
It's an Oldsmobile Alero V8. It's got some Ford internal, like, in interior switchgear, but that's just because that company couldn't afford to design anything themselves. And that whole car feels like a kit car when you drive it. I mean, it's cool. It's good looking. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost as if a company came along and was like, can we attach your name to this or else we're not going to be able to sell the thing? And, you know, as an older dude, yeah, sure. You know, like, I don't believe I get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other thing in other news in my life, I did just a quick touch. We did have Hoovie's wedding this weekend, which was great.
Congrats, Hoovie.
Classy event. It was nice to have everybody in town, you know, to have, like, you know, Tavarish, Ed Bolian, John Ficarra, those guys, like, all together again here in Podunk, Wichita, Kansas. It was great. Ed didn't make a rental car reservation ahead of time, so he just got whatever they had at Hertz, and it was funny to watch Ed Bolian driving a Kia Soul.
Nice.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Because I was like, I was kind of just shooting the shit. I was like, what do we get for rental cars? And he's like, well, I got it. Ficarra got a Mazda CX-50. Freddie Turo'd an Ineos Grenadier, which
nice.
Yeah, yeah. There's us. There's me and Ed and Ficarra. Yeah, and then Ficarra's like, oh, you can't miss Ed's car. Look, it's a Kia Soul. I'm like, oh, look at that. It was just so funny to see the Cannonball King.
I just think it would have been hilarious for him to come up in the Kia Soul and do the Ed Bolian thing. Well, it's like, it's one of blah, blah, blah in this color, and then it's only this, and with these wheels, and like just totally pass it off. Like, I feel like the content, and I would be like,
I want a Kia Soul now. Yeah, I would just be like, well, now I want one of these.
Elliot, do me a favor and just check your physical mic connection.
Oh, is it out? Okay, hold on. I was like, the BlackBerry near your phone noise might be me because I keep getting messages. So.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully this. I just moved it further away.
That seems to have it, but yeah, I mean, it looks.
No, right here. I sent another picture of just the overall thing because I even couldn't believe it. Being there like a few days beforehand, they converted the garage of Hoovie's garage into like a ballroom. I mean, unbelievable.
That's cool.
Like chandeliers, you can see one in the background. I mean, like that's us in the background with like, you know, the lifts and stuff. Like if you hadn't been in there before, it was like, wow, they converted this whole thing into a ballroom, and they had the band up top, so they weren't in the way. And they had this like 18-piece band crammed in like this little area. They decorated the Lamborghini tractor. It was just, they did such a great job, and it was such an undertaking having that level of event at your own house. Like, I mean, the stress and the coordination and everything involved was just next level, but it went off without a hitch. It was amazing. They had Rick DeBrule from Barrett Jackson, who does, you know, their announcing and stuff. He was the officiant. So it was like really cool to hear like TV's Rick DeBrule like be like, you know, doing the officiating. And it was
and
like,
do you? I'm telling you, once the
No, he wasn't the auctioneer. He's
okay.
one of the he's one of the guys. He calls different things. I don't know if he does NASCAR. He might do.
The name sounds familiar
IMSA.
outside of Barrett Jackson.
He might do IMSA and something else, but he's just, it was just one of those interesting things, like a familiar voice doing the wedding. It was just great. And like I said, having everybody in town and just being chums was great. They had well, here's what it was, is Tyler told me, you know, like, so we have had in Wichita this last week a record amount of rain, like flooding everywhere. Talk about people's basements getting wrecked, even with sump pumps. It's been nuts. We had like street closures due to flash flooding. I mean, it was out of control in this last week. So they're having this outdoor wedding, and there's supposed to be on-site parking, but the fields were just mush. So they had to change it last second to being like, all right, no more on-site parking. And I was like, okay, no worries. Because at first he said you could drive, if you have a cool car, there's a section for that. And if you have a regular commuter car, there's a section, you know, for that, which makes total sense, especially for a car guy wedding. But I kind of was like, oh, nice. I don't have to worry about driving anything. I can just show up. And it was day of the wedding. We were all having breakfast together. And he's like, you're bringing something today, right? I'm like, no. Like, it says no more on-site parking. And he's like, no, that part's still on. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, I mean, I guess I will. Like, you know, like
he prepared for an oil leaky Volvo.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, no, I knew the Volvo with its paint missing on the hood and stuff. I had a feeling that wouldn't fly. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'll bring the Maserati, and he's like, well, I know April would really appreciate the '54 Corvette, and I'm like, that would be a better choice. So I kind of asked my dad, because it's definitely still his. I was like, how do you feel about me taking that out and like kind of having it out for the night? And he was just kind of like, it hasn't been ran in a while. Like, you know, there were a few reasons that made totally justifiable why I shouldn't take it. I was like, probably for the best, especially if, you know, we're going to be imbibing, you know, and any amount and whatever. I was like, all right, no big deal. Yeah. I'll take the Maserati. I was like, I just had to tell my girlfriend, I was like, we're just going to smell like gas a little bit. It's not a big deal.
It's a car guy wedding. It's fine.
Yeah. So I go and I swap cars out and I go and get in the Maserati, which I also haven't driven for a couple of months at least. And I go to start it, and it's been on a tender. So this is not, you know, this isn't a case of the battery being dead. And I'm like, oh, let's just fire it up. And it just kind of cranked and cranked and cranked and cranked. Nothing. I was like, okay, weird. Cycled the key, tried it again, and it would like barely turn over as if the battery was dead. And I was like, all right, weird. Cycle the key, crank. And it was, I was like, oh my God. I tried for like 5 or 10 minutes to just get it to fire, because I knew once it was running, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But eventually I just couldn't do it. And I was like, damn it. I guess I can't be in the cool guy club for the Tyler wedding.
Bummer.
Yeah. So I had to, I still drove the Cadillac Lyric, even though it didn't matter, but, and shuttled the rest of the folks. Yeah. And then today I went and I was just like, I went to my uncle and I was like, something's up with the Maserati. I was like, it cranks, but it does not fire. And there shouldn't be a problem with that. And we started looking into it, and it was like this today. I went to go turn it on. It didn't even turn over. So I was like, all right, I know the battery's like low, but I just carried physically another battery over to it. We just jumped it from there, fired right up. And I was like, what the heck? It had enough power to like quickly like crank. I was like, that's not the battery.
Tenders only work so much. Like tenders are good, but they're never gonna like in like long term. They're never gonna be like your battery's fine.
Right. And I know. I just wish it would. And it wasn't that long of a term, but I know the battery wasn't the best. It was like a Walmart brand when I bought it from Freddie anyway. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, car guy wedding. All right. And dang. But it's okay. It's not like the driveway was hurting for anything. We had that, we had all of Tyler's significant cars in the driveway. The guy from Winfield drove the Countach that paced the '78 Monaco Grand Prix, and
that's cool.
And an air-cooled 911 Carrera RS, which is a significant car. We had a couple of friends. We drove the Car Trek Ferrari from season 1 that's still in town, and another. It was a significant enough car show in the front of the venue, as you could say.
Yeah,
I was still surprised they're driving away car, which was it's for photos because you're just driving right back to where you were. I would have been like 100%. It's got to be the Bugatti, right? Like that's the coolest thing you have. But they went with like a 38 like Mercury or something like that. No, Chrysler Town and Country. Nice car, like woody convertible. But I was like, that's a very surprising drive-away car. I figured for sure it'd be like the SLR or the Bugatti.
Yeah,
but maybe that's just me. That's what I would have driven away in.
Well, I mean, when you have a modern car enthusiast wedding with lots of modern enthusiast cars, the last thing you expect to see is a 1930s era anything.
True.
So that's probably why you were gravitated towards it. It was like, ooh, that's cool and old and like nothing else here.
Yes. Yeah. And no, I think it was a good choice. But yeah, it was definitely, like I said, a fantastic event. Great folks all around. Everything went off without a hitch as far as I was concerned as a viewer. It wasn't like attendee.
As a viewer.
Yeah. Well, I was an in-person viewer.
Why aren't they saying like and subscribe to this wedding? We're doing it wrong.
Tell me you've been on the internet too long without telling me you've been on the internet too long.
I know. That's literally what it is. It was like I viewed it IRL. So I was
all the users in the community were there.
Wait, you watched a Hoovie YouTube vlog live?
Dude, I said it was Hoovie live.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, all of his significant subscribers were there. So, you know.
Took me a second to figure that one out.
Food was great, obviously. Anyway, it was just cool. Those are the most up-to-date things that are happening with me right now.
That's awesome.
Podcast with Hoovie's wedding. So a lot of Hoovie things going on in my life right now.
Sorry,
yeah, and then I
you just gotta ride the Hoovie coattails like he did with Doug. And
I started that way. I'm not gonna stop. You know, like ride them all the way to see where we can go here. But at the end of this Maserati stories, I ended up swapping the battery into it from whatever that was, but it was a little bit more of a job because it's a top post battery, but the poles were on the wrong side. So it was one of those jerry rigged, like, we'll make it fit. And the cables will reach.
Was that still the original battery from when you bought it?
No, well, it was the original battery from when I bought it. But like I said, Freddie put like an Everstart in there.
But still, how long have you owned that now? 4 or 5 years?
Five or 6 years, yeah.
That's a pretty decent battery life length, honestly, for a car like that.
Yeah, not regularly driven for sure.
I will applaud Everstart in that case. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years is pretty standard for battery, quite honestly.
No, yeah, I'm not mad about it. It was just one of those like unfortunate timings because like the last time I drove it, it wasn't even showing signs of being tired, and then I go to start it and it's like, oh, I'm totally dead, and you're like, oh, well, that sucks. But you know what? It's whatever. Now it's alive again in time for our Cars and Coffee, which this weekend is a biggie. So that they've moved it. I guess it's not Cars and Coffee anymore. They call it Cars and Cockpits. And this weekend is the airport where they host it at. They have a fly-in as well. So it's gonna be like a double show. Where like normally there's just some planes flying in because it's nice and it's the morning. This is gonna be like this is a plane show and a car show simultaneously. So it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's gonna be like it's usually our biggest event of the year. So
when you say hours, who are you talking about?
Well, so like, Rob organizes it. I guess I have nothing to do with it other than I'm always like adjacent to it. Like I'm always like I'm in there with the organizers. And I do nothing but show up. But you know, it's one of those things. It looks like you've disconnected, Greg. But if you can still hear me, let me know. Apparently not. That's okay. Either way, I'm gonna say. I have nothing to do with Cars and Cockpits, but I have been there since the start, and I do show up and help with what I can if ever need be. And this particular weekend is going to be a biggie. Honestly, we have a reservation system now, so it depends if I actually bring anything because I'm not sure if I'm actually signed up. But being that it's the fly-in and the big Cars and Coffee, I think I'll go either way. This is great, folks. If this is now is the time to take questions from the chat because both Chad and Greg are gone. I see Sean's even saying his Volvo's battery is 9 years old before it died. Hey, maybe that's the Swedish engineering. I also recently had to get a new battery for my Volvo, but I haven't talked about that or gone public with it being able to move around yet. But sneak shifting lanes treat here. It runs and drives, and I still need to put a turbo control valve on it, but I have been moving it around a teeny tiny bit. I see my girlfriend has just joined the chat again. If she wants to ask any questions while I'm doing this completely solo, that would also be fun. Let's see here. I can't really see the YouTube comments. Let's see. Maybe I can. Blah, 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 blah. Can you rate my Skyline to potato skin? I would if I could see it. Potato skin. I sure would. Let's see here. Gregson, I had no idea what happened. I seem to have lost feed. Now Elliott has taken over the show. You're right, Greg. Yeah, no, Sean, I was saying the battery. You've replaced the battery before your car died. I did understand what you're saying. I was like, replaced the battery in mine as well. I think I got maybe 6 years out of it. Oh, good. You guys are back.
God damn it, Greg.
Yeah, I can hear you and see you. I was solo there for a little bit.
Surprise! It's just the Elliott show.
Of Elliott speaking, it just went and then black screen, and I have nothing, and I'm like, cool, what's going on? So I just refreshed the tab just now, like for the third time, and it actually came back up. So no idea what just happened. And so thank you for being shifting lanes for a solid 2.5 minutes.
Hey, no problem. I can carry a show for a couple minutes.
I really want to go tomorrow to the bank and have them make like a 62-cent cashier's check.
Please do. And
for services rendered.
And then I won't cash it, and they'll be like, "What the heck?"
You can hang it.
Bothering you about it?
You can hang it next to your inevitable play button.
Yes.
Why hasn't Shifting Lanes paid taxes in 8 years? Man, we got this 62 cents that's just been outstanding for a long time, man.
It's just here. I was like, I don't even know where it is. Steve in the comments, I just want to acknowledge, because I did ask, I was like, guys, if this is the time for questions, it's now. But Steve did mention he fixed his Honda. I don't know if you mean you fixed your key fob dying or the problem that was underlying for that, but good work.
It was actually a cylinder 3 misfire / ABS module.
It was that. That's what caused it from locking the keys in it at the hot dog place.
All part of the same thing, I guess.
Exactly.
Those systems are tied together.
It's a Honda, so who knows? It's like for ABS to work, it needs a key fob. Yeah, and then lastly, since you obviously did ask the questions, Tony over on YouTube of True Data Game Data fame. How much do you know about Porsches?
A fair amount. I'm not Corvette level, I would say, but generally,
if you had two cars that you were Corvette level, I would feel words couldn't even describe how badly I would feel for any of your significant.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't handle it. If I knew everything about like another brand of car like I do about Corvettes, I'd be like, I know a lot about a lot of other cars, but I'm like with Corvettes, I'm like like absolutely genuinely autistic about them. So,
Tony asks, should he replace the PDK fluid in his 718 Boxster? I forget the year. Sorry, Tony.
So 718, I already know it's gonna be from like 16 to something, but so it's like new enough. I'd say, is that the end of the question? Should you replace the PDK fluid?
Well, should he do it himself, or should he have like a dealer or a certified Porsche mechanic do it?
So, if you get it's kind of I think it's possible to do it yourself, but I would weigh on the side of having the dealer do it, because it's one of those things where you have to have the pump, and you have to shove one tube in one side and have an out tube the other side, and you have to like pump the fluid out of it. It's not like it has like a like an oil pan, like a normal fluid reservoir thing.
You can't gravity drain that one.
You can't gravity drain it, and there's from what I know, there's not a great way for like a garage type of mechanic to know, oh, this is the correct amount. Like this is how much is in there. There's a level of burping. There's a level of this and that. It is possible with the right like I said. There's a hand pump and hose attachment that you could do if you had a lift. And I guarantee somebody's made a YouTube video about it. But I'd have the dealer do it if you feel it needs to be done. The other thing I would say is, from my also knowledge of PDK stuff, is that the fluid is pretty good for like 100,000 miles. So like, depending on how it's been driven and stuff like that, I think it unless it's actually causing you a problem, if you're feeling some sort of like hard shifts or something that's causing you to think that you need to replace the fluid, I'd honestly probably leave it alone until the actual service interval comes up, because Porsches, especially at the dealership, they are not shy about telling you when you need a service. Like even for like a Macan, they'll be like, oh, hey, it's been, a few thousand miles. It's time for new spark plugs. You're like, what? No, it's not. And there's two spark plugs per cylinder. It's like, so they will tell you for a job like a PDK fluid flush, I feel like they'd be like, hey, it's time for one of those. But like I said, if you feel like something's shifting and harshly, or feeling a slippage of some sort, yeah, it's worth doing, because changing the fluid is still endlessly cheaper than replacing a PDK on anything. So I'd say use your best judgment on that. But to answer the full question, it is possible to do it alone. I personally wouldn't. I would have either a German mechanic shop, like independent shop that's done it before, do it, or the dealership.
Yeah, I second that. I think that's a great bit of advice. And I would say if you're looking to do the fluid itself, I'd say anywhere from 75 to 100,000 miles, even though a lot of those liquids are quoted as lifetime. They aren't. They're not.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing as a lifetime liquid.
Correct. Exactly. You still should change it. So I mean, for transmission, yes, like that, you should change out the transmission fluid.
Yeah, no, I mean, he goes on to say that most people are recommending between 40 and 60,000. He's at 57,000. At that point, it comes down to your level of comfort doing the job itself, and your level of comfort and giving yourself the peace of mind that every time you think it shifts, it may not be shifting wrong at all or whatever, but you feel like it might be in it. You're always going to have, oh shit, did I do something wrong? But I'm also going to sit here and not tell anyone how to spend their money unless it's Greg and it's a bigger turbo. So,
right. And to piggyback on what you're saying, I'm a big fan of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, even on something sensitive like that. Mm-hmm. Because if everything is fine, and there's a lot of people on forums that are like, oh, well, you need to put this on. I mean, I even remember it was like people with Hellcats are like, well, if you don't put a catch can on, the thing's going to do this. It's like, it's not modded. It's fine. Like, there's certain things that people on forums will absolutely make you paranoid about that you weren't paranoid about before. And anytime you do something, preventative or not, you run the risk of it never being the same again. So I would still say the first question is, does it need to be done? And if you do not sense that it is shifting funny or behaving funny in any way, no. Now, like I said, go off of what your dealership says. Like if they start recommending it at 75,000 miles, it's worth considering. But if you're going to preemptively do something with something as sensitive as a PDK, I would say just probably not, unless it presents some reason to mess with it. That's probably the end of my advice on that.
No, I agree. I agree with that completely.
And again, as everyone,
don't fix it.
As everyone here knows, when it comes to, let's just say, transmissions that do it for you, I can't really comment. These two have owned automatics. I have.
Yes, we're simps for complicated automatics.
Yeah, auto simp.
Yeah. Well, we're not auto. Like, most of my cars are still manual. It's just like,
but then there is the duality of auto. Could just stand for cars.
True.
Lexicon.
Yeah, the English language. Yeah. Sorry for everyone listening in foreign languages.
English language is terrible.
Yeah.
English is such a terrible language. There's actually a great comic I was watching last night. He's Arab American. And his name is Mo Adder, Mo Amber, something like that. He's super funny. And he's just like, English is like baby time, because it's only been around for like a couple, 1,000 years, really. Right. And not even. And he's just like, Arabic's been around forever. And curse words in English are just like, man, that's just like, F you. Oh, that's cool, whatever. I can just walk away. Like, Arabic curse words are way worse. It's just like, he said one of them, he's just like, I damn your entire lineage is what it means. And I'm just like, that's way more epic than
that would be way more,
I think, in English.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty, like, yeah, you, for you currently, you later, that's all of you, your entire DNA line. I damn all of it. Like, that's pretty bad.
That definitely gets the job done way more so than just be like, screw you right now.
Yeah. English is just very to the point. F you.
Right.
Well, cool. I'm going to go walk away.
Yes, but they do say to individuals who swear a lot in conversation, it's an indicator of higher fucking intelligence.
I see what you did there.
I mean,
you say that, but like everybody that I know that like does it every other word when they're upset, I'm like, yeah, I feel like there's a way to convey this without going effing this, blah blah blah, effing effing effing
Yes.
effing effing effing.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, no, that's not.
There's a constructive way of doing it. Yeah.
so
All right, gents, I'll be right back. You continue.
No worries. I might, yeah. I mean, I'd leave chat again. I'm just be like, all right, see, no.
well, on that note, Elliot. No, I'm not. I can't be that. Of course, that
my
completely derailed.
Girlfriend message. She's like, hey, now, because when she gets mad, it's the F word every other word.
Yeah.
I effing told effing you, effing this would effing happen, and you're like, all right, you didn't. That was not necessary to throw all of those in there, but higher intelligence and whatnot.
Absolutely. Oh shit, that's the wrong fucking screen.
Oh, see, now I feel like you're overly cussing now because of this thing.
No, it's no. Look, like there's ways of. I think the people who like creatively add on, not like the scene from Boondock Saints, right?
True. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like if somebody makes a really funny curse word, you're like, it's good.
Exactly, but I mean, at any rate, let's see here. Potato over on YouTube goes, the YouTube algorithm loves bad words.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah.
If you cuss in the first 3 minutes, it's like they bury your video.
Yeah. But then they'll have an ad for an R-rated movie like every 6 minutes. So
yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. The double standards.
Believe it or not, when I'm in a professional setting, and even here, to be honest, because of the aforementioned algorithm, because of, well, I don't want every other word out of my, because if I was just normally talking, it'd be a lot more, especially when I get on my rants. Like I literally, the reason my rants don't go as far as they would if we were just in a bar talking is because they would be filled with swearing, and like I have to tell myself to dial it back. Sean goes, you have a GM crossover that I'm 99% sure is not a manual. Sean, that is correct. Technically speaking, though, the car is not in my name, so I don't technically own it. Although, more than likely in the next, but when we move, so end of summer, beginning of the fall, it'll probably just come over into my name just to make the insurance simpler.
But also, realistically, do you drive that more than the Mustang?
Right now, yes.
Yes, because of the Mustang being down for the count.
Yes, very, very much down for the count. But while we're waiting for Greg, this is a good time. I did actually, if Anthony's here, he will know what I'm about to get into. But I have found an engine builder in Virginia that I'm probably going to go check out.
Okay.
Because they can build off of a Predator block, which, as Elliott's tired of hearing me say, is one of the strongest factory castings of any V8 ever made.
Hey, it's significant. That's fine.
I just got to keep Greg there because I think the thing is going to freak out. But a Predator block, Predator crank, manly rods, and pistons to get to the 5.2 liters. Or if we decide to do something slightly different, it is significantly cheaper than buying the Illuminator XS 5.2 crate engine, which is effectively a Predator engine with 12-to-1 compression pistons in it, trick heads, and a Cobra Jet intake manifold. It's effectively, if you call up Ford and be like, I want that... I want the Voodoo crate engine. Well, we don't sell this, but we don't sell a Voodoo, but this is the engine you should have because, well, the Voodoo's a pain in the rear end.
Yeah, they're like, the Voodoos are going to eat oil and have a problem anyway, so.
I mean, to be fair, my Gen 3 drank a lot of fucking oil. So, I forget what the exact capacity for oil is, but it was down to 2 quarts. So,
yikes! Yeah,
and that's only driving it maybe like 500 miles.
That's a ton of oil consumption. Yeah, like.
Yeah, it turns out when the rings fail, you burn a lot of oil.
Yeah, see, like I know not the same vein here, but as the only car I have that absolutely pisses through oil like that is my Prius, and I'm talking like every 300 to 500 miles, it's down a quart.
Damn.
But it's a little bit more significant because its capacity is like 3 quarts. So
you're losing a third.
When you're down a quart, it's like, like that's actually not, like it's not doing right.
Time to get that external oil reservoir.
Right, like a GM 6.2, it could be down like 6 quarts. It's like fine, it's totally fine. It just has a bucket of oil underneath it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just trying to take this as one of those situations where not ideal, but I can. It just speeds up my timeline on the car, if we're being perfectly honest.
Well, yeah, and like I said, even at the onset of you getting this car, there was the discussion of like, do you put all of the old supercharger parts on? Just for anybody catching up here, I just remember that was a conversation, or do I go high revving NA, like awesome sick build? Which I also, even at the time, this was months ago, that I still felt like you were leaning that direction, and it's almost like the cards are falling in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, so I made the decision a while ago to go NA versus boosted again, just because I've been down the boosted path. This car was going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 70 horsepower more on the exact same setup, which, on the one hand, we'll just say 775 wheel horsepower.
It's freaking nuts, by the way.
Exactly. But at 705, it wasn't. It was fun in its place, right? Like the way it would pick up speed, but I never got to the top of the rev range. I would either be roasting the tires in second gear, or I'd have to keep it in third gear to sort of maintain traction and have a little bit of a spirited drive. But like it lost a lot of the charm just because I wasn't rowing my own gears. I was just, if I maxed out third gear, I was going double the speed limit at best. You know?
Yeah.
So I thought I almost got a ticket today in the Equinox too. I was blasted by a cop doing like 60 in a 45. But at any rate, so it's like, okay, can I get, because in my head, I was like, can I get to, 550-ish wheel horsepower NA, which is a lot considering it's only a 5-liter engine, right? In the Corvette world, as you're well aware, LSs and things of that nature.
5.7s all day long.
And
then 60, but yeah.
You could get to 700 crank horsepower with ease with a stroker kit on a LS7, right? Like it has the cubic capacity to make the power.
Right.
In a 5-liter, you have to spin it. You have to make RPM. And so that got me thinking, after talking to Jeff at Blue Sky, I could absolutely make something that absolutely dunks on the Voodoo. This should make for a really fun, awesome car. 2, make for an entire series of why the Voodoo sucks, which, I don't know, sounds like halfway decent content, or at least content I would click on. Or like why the Voodoo is unnecessary and stuff like that. But at any rate, this concludes your Mustang portion for the evening, much to everyone's chagrin. So while Elliott steps aside, but we're all gassing up because the next topic is a good one.
All right, let's fuel back up, boys. I'll be right back.
So, Greg, how you doing?
Me. I'm good. Good topic. The end. That's the end of the topic.
Elaborate?
No, no elaboration. Just, I'm good.
Good things are good.
Everything's good. I definitely got to get my car in for fixing. I got to get my car in for fixing. There's definitely a creaking going on in the right front for sure, and it's not going away. This weekend, I'm probably gonna end up taking the wheel off and just like hand seeing if there's anything loose, control arm, joints, anything I can get in there and just rattle around to see if there's anything crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and just do that. So that's gonna be my big thing this weekend, and we'll try to figure it out from there. But other than that, everything's good. Nothing crazy. Just lots and lots of work that I don't want to do. So, lottery, Jesus, can you hear me? please let me win that so we can do this full time. Thank you. That is my religious public service announcement for the week.
Oh man, yeah, it stinks, man, because like both our cars are, well, your car's not down, but it's sort of down, right? Like it's got an issue.
It's bummer down. I'm still driving it always. I have to. But yeah, it's got like an underlying issue for sure. Yours is just down, unfortunately. So yeah,
and not in an earlier round.
Yes, it is. It's going down swinging though.
It definitely went down swinging. So yeah, like I gotta get on the phone with. I know I mentioned this to you, Greg, in our chat, but we have a connection with Fast Forward Race Engines through Dan, as you remember.
Yeah.
And I need to be like, hey, some guys over there. Here's what I want. What's it going to cost? Or get me on a make the introductions, because I still think if I could send my block to them and they could ship me back a 5.4 liter first within the same budget, that's what I want to do. Obviously,
that would be very cool.
But I have a feeling, based on the top end Coyote builders, we're talking that's about a $18,000 engine, which
that's a big amount of money.
I would like, so basically the top dollar is $11,000 for the motor. That's the most I'm spending. I'm not going above it. Everything I can save off of the motor. So let's just say I get a motor for $8,500. Now I have $2,000, $2,500 to send the heads off to Frankenstein and have them do the springs, retainers, port, polish, so on. I have more money to kind of get all that as close to done as possible. So,
yeah.
But since we have Elliott back and his back teeth are no longer floating.
My balls are no longer full of pee.
I mentioned this in chat. If that's where the pee's going, you might want to consult a physician.
It's where it's stored. Look at the internet.
No, I am never going to Google that.
That is a wise decision.
It's a movement. It's peas stored in the balls. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they occupy similar spaces as the flat earthers.
Yes. So I have some things to show you about anatomy.
I know you're in the medical field too. I'll be like, I don't know, and then I'm
Greg. Number one,
I'll be like, I don't know, man.
Car show 2. I'd rather not get a channel strike, so no showing.
Yeah. No, we'll talk about it privately.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll talk about privately.
Show me the.
That's for next week's our debut on OnlyFans.
I thought you were just gonna say, "Show me the balls." I'm like, more than happy to. Here you go. Here they are.
No, okay.
So good.
Let's do it, Chad. What's this next hot subject?
Testicles.
Yes.
No.
Good.
On the last episode, spoiler alert, of Car Simps, Elliott's topic for the day was the rise and fall. Although I don't know if there was ever really I guess technically there was a rise to Infiniti, but I think
it's mostly a plateau. Yeah,
it was mostly a yay. We've actually achieved a third of Lexus's sales, or whatever the actual numbers came out to. But I feel that's what my brain is sticking on. But you were talking about it, and then how Infiniti and the guy who doesn't smile and had to be smuggled out of Japan, which was
crazy eyebrows,
fascinating story. I recommend everyone go watch.
It really was a fascinating story, and like I said, a total inside Nissan hack job of this guy. But yeah.
So, and then as we know now, Infiniti, Nissan, they ain't doing well.
They both struggling.
So, towards the tail end of at the end of the episode 3 of Car Simps podcast was what you guys would do to fix it. And just to paraphrase, Rob's idea was to turn Infiniti into a luxury fish tank manufacturer. And the whole...
pretty funny.
Which I totally get where he's coming from with that. Because, let's face it, if Nissan has these two brands, neither of which is doing well, you have to go to the brand that's going to sell the most, and that's really kind of... Or the resources need to go to, like, the Nissan side of things.
Yeah, you got to go to Nissan.
I believe your solution was bring back the manual G35 and an electric crossover.
A reasonably priced electric crossover would be all the rage right now, I believe.
I mean, in that space, in the luxury space, it makes a little more sense than like the general public space.
Oh, for sure. Just because you have things like the Macan EV, the Genesis GV60, in that wheelhouse of priced car. I think that those are what's kind of selling right now.
Oh, without a doubt. And then Hoovie's idea
was the best, unfortunately.
See, in my estimation, I would take the fish tank idea over this one. But
his was the hardest to actually implement, even though it sounds good on paper. So go ahead and describe it again.
So the short version of the story was to come out with something that sits below the G-Wagon, price-wise, that is like the new Scout, where it's an electric vehicle that carries its own gasoline-powered engine that is effectively just a generator, and make a sort of off-roader. Am I paraphrasing that correctly?
Correct. So imagine a G-Wagon-ish Chevy Volt.
Right, which on the face of it, that's kind of cool. And then you guys, again, I don't want to steal too much from the show. If you guys want to watch the conversation they had, I highly recommend it because the guys are really good. And I'm not just saying that because Elliott's here.
Thank you, Chad.
Their conversation is really good, but it's one of those things that it makes a lot of sense. Like that, effectively speaking, if you took the potential energy of a gallon of gasoline and ran it through an engine, a transmission, conventional driveline, especially in a four-wheel drive car, your efficiency just in converting that explosive liquid into actual power at the wheels is terrible.
The losses are phenomenal. Yes.
Whereas using it as a generator, utilize it, you go further and get more power out of that gallon of liquid. So right. It makes a ton of sense. And here's where I will pitch you my idea, and then Greg can pitch his, and then Elliott, you can tell us why we're both wrong.
We'll see. You guys might have better ideas than Hoovie. So,
but you guys mentioned this in the actual podcast or what have you. But like, the biggest problem with Nissan Infiniti as a whole is obviously their stuff is old. So all of their tech is old. All of their, you could put the lipstick on a pig, but all the stuff behind it is just so old. So people, when they look at Nissan, a lot of people are looking at them as, they're overpriced for what they are. That 3-row SUV is stupid.
Oh gosh, yeah, the Armada and the QX80 or whatever we talked about where I priced one out. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. That is just $100,000 for a upscaled Nissan is someone in the meeting needed to look down and be like, all right, so we're going to produce this? No. Yeah. Bad executive. Right. So if you come out with something that's electric or a tech that people they know, but let's face it, that extended range EV concept that the Volt was and a couple other have pulled off and that Scout is going down, some people know it, but it's going to be a new tech to a lot of people, even though it's been around for forever.
Right. It's a tough marketing sell because the average person can't understand it.
Right.
I don't think it's a particularly difficult thing to understand, but I understand how a total non-car enthusiast would not understand why they still have to put gas in their electric car.
Right. And they don't understand that this is how diesel trains I've operated for decades.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but on the broader spectrum, so even if it was just, to use your idea, just an electric vehicle, even then, I think there's going to be, from the consumer, it's like, okay, you guys are the old tech company. So when you come out with an electric vehicle,
probably not going to be so good. Yeah.
It's probably not going to be that great.
Right.
You're probably using old tech, even if they're not, even if it's completely brand new, cutting edge, very on par with everybody else. It's a really tough sell, and you really have to be almost pushing that from the bottom up. So from Nissan into Infiniti, even though, like I said, it could theoretically be the best electric car system, in terms of hours to charge, capacity, power, all this stuff.
Sure.
They have
whatever it may be.
Massive image problem. So my thought process was, because I was listening to it, and then I was waiting for someone, so I was sitting out and I was giving this a bit of thought. I was like, I love Elliott's idea of making them the sporty Japanese luxury brand again, because the original G35 to this day was one of the most fun and easiest cars to drive sideways I've ever driven.
Yes.
Whatever that extra 3 to 6 inches or whatever it was, which is massive, that it had over the Z made it just so... And the Z was easy too, but this was just on a different level. And I was thinking if they did that and then they had a sports sedan, but that's not going to save the... That'll make guys like us go, hell yeah. Like, this is awesome. We have it's the brand new, it's the new Z or whatever the next one is, we'll say.
Yeah.
But it's got luxury. It's got this, Infiniti's not like, the brand has kind of taken a downturn, but it isn't unsavable. Unsavable? Whatever, words. English.
Yeah, no, that works.
Yeah. So my thought was, what if they, in the short term, just went and did a reverse Genesis? Which, I'm not talking about the Bible either. The car company. So as we all know, Genesis, when it first became a thing at, we'll just call Hyundai, the parent company, it was a model of Hyundai. There was a sedan that used a similar speaker system or sound system to a Rolls-Royce. They were quite proud about that when I was in the dealership. And they made a coupe, which was a pretty fun car.
Yeah.
And then eventually it became its own brand. I say, as you put that to Nissan and Infiniti, get rid of Infiniti as its own brand. Almost to a much, much lower extent. Maybachs used to be their own things. Now they're a trim level of Mercedes.
True, yeah.
You have your up-leveled... Because let's face it, every Infiniti people look at this point in time are looking at it and go, that's just an up-badged Nissan.
Right, yeah.
So, and I'm not even talking about their existing model range. So we start today. Now, we all know Nissan is in... Because Nissan, they're in big trouble. They're... I haven't seen anything recently on this, but they're selling their headquarters with the intent of renting it back just to get equity. So how do you save a brand that's doing it? So in my head, it's simplify. Instead of having two brands with two design studios that you have to have, they may go down the same production line and veer off to get the Infiniti body and the interior and all that other sort of stuff. But just eliminate that complication. So Nissan, what do they need to do? Well, for all honesty, they needed to just accept fate and merge with Honda. That would have been the simplest and easiest way for them to survive. However, if they're going to do it on their own, they got to cut back. They can't make a model for every single person. They got to make a model, again, follow the Genesis template. Genesis didn't have as the model lineup it does now when it first came out. It had a car and it had an SUV, and that was it.
No, it had a sedan when they first came out. It was just a sedan and SUV.
Right.
Or not SUV, God. It had a coupe and a sedan.
Right. When the Genesis became its own brand, I remember sitting there in the New York Auto Show when they were making these announcements and stuff. They had a coupe, they had a sedan, and they had a crossover. And that was it. And I honestly think, yeah, it's a big, tough pill for Nissan to swallow. But if you say don't have the resources to modernize an entire fleet from a Sentra all the way up to an Armada, and you're going to have less money anyway because of what's going on,
right?
Because they're trim the fat. So as much as I would sit here and like to say, only have a sedan and a mid-size crossover, so you kind of cover everyone, I would just sit here and say, first thing first, make a fully modern, fully up-to-date, fully on par with all of its rivals from Honda, Toyota, etc. A mid-size crossover, make it bang modern. And Harold, you can still say the new Nissan with the current Z, even though it's the old Z with an old Infiniti engine. But you can still have that as your quote-unquote exciting thing, because sports cars don't have to be the last word in modern technology.
Right. It's branding.
It's all about, hey, can you have fun in it? Will you get looks in it? And will chicks think that you're a little bit heavier south of the Mason-Dixon line, if you catch my meaning? Which they don't, in case anyone
generally no, yeah.
They don't. Have that mid-size crossover and just have a Nissan version and then, quote-unquote, the Infiniti version, which is an upscaled Nissan. It's the Infiniti package. So you have leather, a little bit nicer materials inside, a little bit of a... everybody uses CarPlay anyway. So really your infotainment system, as long as it has that, GM, I'm looking at you. As long as it has that, people aren't going to care what your infotainment system looks like. So you just need a really pretty home screen so they can hit CarPlay. That has to look good. That's it.
100%.
As far as like engines, I think their engines are a little bit older, but they're not so old. It's not like they're still driving around with cast iron blocks.
Well, plus they're not, none of their engines have been fatally flawed. It's not the EJ, like from Subaru, where it's like, oh, this has been a great engine. We keep putting it in stuff, but it's like, it has the same problems from 2004 that it does in 2025. So they don't have that, which is good. Like, I can take old and works versus old and we still don't want to fix it. So I think they do. That's a positive on their end.
Right. Your mic's doing the thing again.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I moved my phone further away. It's just like, it's the most updated feed I have of what we're looking at. So,
yeah, so it doesn't take a ton to bring those engines a little bit newer, right?
Right. I agree.
So you have that. Now that you can sit here and say the new Nissan, and then the new Infiniti package. Now, yes, you are taking a step down, but I don't think the Infiniti package is going to be seen any worse than Infiniti cars were. And
I agree. That makes total sense.
As that goes along, you then add your compact crossover. You then add a sports sedan. You then add to the lineup, without overdoing it, because that's how they got in this mess in the first place. The Sentra will never compete with the Civic. It doesn't need to exist. I hate to say it because there have been some cool Sentras in the past, but
that's true. No, it's you get a Corolla or you get a Civic, and the Sentra is on nobody's mind.
Right. It's the car that is bought secondhand because it's $10,000 when a Civic costs 15. Right.
Exactly. But like I said, even if I recommended, like, be like, I don't care about cars, I just want this. I've never even thought to recommend a Sentra.
So
same.
Like I said, that's how I would fix it. And then once you scale down, you can scale back up. But again, without saying, oh no, let's just say the new crossover sells like hotcakes. They're like, fantastic. Here's a compact. Here's a full size. Here's the, here's this. Here's that. Like, like.
I think what you're saying is perfect. Makes great sense, and it might be the best option as far as an actual business strat goes. When I first answered this question, I thought
this isn't me shitting on your answer about
no. I was just saying, like, when I answered this as a Infiniti still has to exist as its own brand. How does it save itself? I didn't even consider the option of like being just completely reabsorbed into Nissan and becoming like the Denali of Nissans. Like that's brilliant. I'd like to hear, Gregson, if you have any, chime in of your own as far as like what you would do.
Yeah.
I think.
So mine. Usually, I'm the voice of reason. Mine is dumb, but I think it's dumb in the sense that it's sort of like what the car industry needs currently.
Wagons.
Everyone's focused on like. what did you say?
We wish.
Wagons.
Yes.
Only wagons.
No, one wagon, no other cars. Profit.
There you go.
No, but it actually in a similar vein to that, quite honestly. I think the first thing they need to do is disassociate themselves from Nissan. Nissan is absolute automotive currently, and they need to excise themselves from that situation. If they want to be their own brand, period, they need to not be part of Nissan in this scenario. I think that's just hands down because they've just been the expense of Nissan. Nissan is not a good car company currently. And if they want to actually continue as a brand, I don't see Nissan lasting another 5-10 years. Is what I'm seeing
at this current rate for sure. And I think I agree with what you're saying. Is nobody wants to be the nicer thing of a shitty brand.
Right, exactly. And don't get me wrong, Nissan has a couple of good cars. I will go as far as to say the Rogue is a good car. They sell a lot of them. I've driven a bunch of them, and they're very solid. The engines on them are not crazy, but bad. Like they're comfortable. They don't look great, but they don't look really awful either. They're sort of mid-range, and they sell a couple 100,000 of them every year. Like, pretty decent car, honestly.
It's what the internet calls the Taltima.
That's actually a great. I've never heard that. It's so good and so accurate. But what I would do is I would secede from Nissan, and then what I would do is only cars, literally. So what I would, we were talking about this last week without you. So now to bring you into that conversation, we were talking about like when Ford killed off all of their cars. They were leaving on the table, hundreds of thousands of buyers.
For sure.
For not just the Fusion, but the Focus.
The Focus and the Fusion alone, I feel like
the Fiesta, like
poorly.
Right. The Fusion, when we looked it up, the Fusion was selling poorly in 2020 when it was, but this is far after the announcement was made. Back in 2015, they were selling 145,000 of these things. So it's not like a refresh couldn't have hurt. So what I think
it's more than
is
Nissan selling of anything.
Yeah, and what I think is there's a huge market gap in that sense of people wanting sedans. Maybe some wagons, sure, but they don't really sell great in the States. They sell great elsewhere. And if you're going to be a global brand, you should have a wagon, in my opinion, or some sort of hatchback.
Sure.
What I think they should do is just go only cars and be the affordable luxury car brand, period. Because what's out there that are actual sedan, coupes, and hatchbacks right now that are affordable luxury that isn't necessarily associated with another brand. There really isn't that thing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I would say Genesis no longer offers a coupe, but they are offering decent luxury sedans. Like the G70 is one of the best looking cars out there.
Agree.
And like, I'm not even in the market for one. And I'm like, every time I see one, I'm like, dang, that's a good looking car.
Right. So this barrier to entry is far lower than making
than the
another
SUV
crossover.
Market. Yeah, exactly.
Another SUV in the swath of those offerings. I feel like if they do that, they're just going to get absolutely decimated. Making really, really good, affordable luxury sedans, sell 100 grand of them. If they can do that, they will save their company. And they have to be market disruptors. They can't just be like, it's going to be a luxury Maxima. They can't be, not that the Maxima exists anymore, whatever. They can't do that. They can't be like, oh, you know what? We're just going to break off from Nissan and create a luxury Camry. Can't do that. Get a platform, redesign it from the ground up, and make it really, really good. If they can do that, they're safe. That's my opinion.
I love it. I want to chime in on that a little bit because I think if they could also do that, plus bringing in a coupe that even if not the most sporty could offer a manual, would be like you could call it the successor to the G35.
Right.
Whatever. The barriers to that are with them already struggling, I feel like they're going to have a really hard time having their entire own platform. Like it's almost going to be impossible for them to not be based on something else, like financially.
Well, they'd have to borrow the platform, but the design of the car, the electronics in the car can be borrowed too. Like the platform needs to be borrowed, but the car, everything else other than the skateboard needs to be their own thing.
Right. And I would say almost like, what if they teamed up with another manufacturer, a la Supra Z4 type of thing, where they made a heck of a car on two companies that had nothing to do with each other.
Right.
Previously.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that happening, but I feel there's also just a massive market gap of sedan buyers that don't have an option at all.
I mean, in the luxury space, there are options, right? Like, Acura is an option.
There are a few, but there aren't a lot. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the barrier to entry is so much lower in that sense.
It is, especially compared to the luxury crossover segment, which is just absolutely sad.
Right. You're gonna get destroyed by Lexus if you go into that.
Of course, because they already have entries in there, and you have to have something so revolutionary and so next level, which they're not going to have. It would just be cool at best.
100%.
So I think that you guys both had very interesting takes, and I'm glad, Chad, that you took that segment at the end and kind of like enhanced it, because like I said, we didn't have time to flesh this out fully.
It's a great thought. It's a great so for car enthusiasts, we like to play a bunch of different like would you could you did you games, right? Like dream car, dream build, dream engine, dream all this other stuff. But also it's like having been in the industry for a minute, you look at Nissan, like my dream build is a Datsun 510. Granted,
is that because of Forza? And you just want to make an impossibly fast drag car?
No, it's actually because Jay Leno's garage had it was some form of light blue 510 that a guy had done a restoration on, and I looked at it. I go, that thing's cool as hell. And then I watched the Paul Newman documentary, and he's racing them, and I'm like, that's even cooler. And then it's like, and then I'm looking at it, and I was like, man, it would be really cool to have something that shape with a little bit of massaging, a little bit of tweaking. I like some cars in a wide body. This thing, I saw a drawing on one of the sites that actually, classified sites that specializes in selling 510s. I was like, that'd be really cool to bring it to life. And what you end up at the end of the day is something that is basically as good, if not better to drive, making more naturally aspirated horsepower than a Miata. But you keep all of the good Miata. That's kind of how I ended up there. But what I think... why I think, apart from just the individuals you, Elliott, or you are Elliott, but you, Hoovy, Rob, like, the good podcasts either do one of two things. They tell you like, oh, that's a really cool thing. I didn't know that. And they teach you something, which your show is obviously doing. But other podcasts are really good because they make you think. They make you sit here and almost play the game along, right? Like, right. And that was really cool because like I saw it. I was like, really? For their third episode, they're going with Infiniti. Bold strategy.
Kind of interesting for sure.
But of the first two, now... History of the Corvette, the detail you went into was awesome. I definitely learned stuff there. The Enzo thing, I learned a little bit there, but, you know, it's to me, and that was a great episode. This isn't criticizing at all, but also it's the same reason why, like, the Enzo movie didn't do so great. It's, like, really hard to spend 2 hours or an hour or 2 hours talking about someone who is widely known to be just a colossal asshole.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's really hard. But like, there's a lot of cool stuff in there that I learned. That one actually inspired one of my shorts about the 1954 Indianapolis 500 and how
I saw that
Cummins sat on the pole, and it was the only time Ferrari ever raced in Indy. Which, again, like, there's all these interesting, cool things, and and again, a lot of these things get you thinking, and that was a cool one at the end. It's like, how would I save Nissan? Now the other, or how would I save Infiniti?
Like, or both, you know, at this point, they're both.
You can't. I like Greg's idea, but like, they
don't have the capital to make their own.
They don't have the capital to continue existing full stop
in their current form. Because it's insane. They're not loss leader, but their main thing is like, oh yeah, get a new QX80 for $130,000. They're 5+ vehicles. If that was my criteria, that I would get ahead of that. And there's no way people are cross shopping them.
Right.
Oh, without
they are going to have to lose money for the next 5 to 10 years to be able to make it. Like that's the reality.
It's nuts. They might. I mean, and I don't know this, but they might already be losing money now, which means they're even less long for this world. I don't know, but I'm just saying, it's like I can already see that they know that, because like I still remember driving QX back when they were like the QX56, which I guess makes no fucking difference. I don't know why they changed the number and they were like, nah, it's a different car. It's the same car. It's a, you know. I
could do a whole episode on just car naming and
no. It's a Titan with a hatch and
correct
whatever. But it had the tech from like 07 in it. It was like, this is crazy. Like, it was like insulting at the time, and then they went on and did it for 10 more years of being like, hey, so everybody else is doing all this crazy stuff, and they were like, well, they just didn't have the dough for it, so they were like, this is what we offer, and they like really weren't shy about it. Just either way, just an interesting brand. Like I said, as Chad, who listened to the whole episode, to summarize it, they never really had that rise. They just were like, hey, we are also here. And they had, like I said, a heyday from like 2003 to 2009. Really good stuff. Like across the board, really good stuff.
Yeah.
But they still, even during that period, never outsold their competitors and never really, I would say, ever became a household name. Like,
they were fighting an uphill fight ever since they brought out the G. What was it? The G20, the fancy Sentra.
Yeah, the G20. They had the G20. I believe was their 2-door interesting thing, which I think was like on the Nissan. Like, it was some Nissan we never got here. I forgot the JDM name for it, but it was an interesting car. But even then, it was like, this is your sports car. It like really wasn't that great.
Yeah, but it was rear-wheel drive.
The British touring car series.
You know, but then they made the G35, and we talked about it
again, and then it's like, and then all of a sudden they pulled the G35 out of nowhere, and it was like everyone. I mean, like I said, even including young me, I'm like, that is literally everything I've ever wanted.
Yes, want that. We all wanted it.
Like, I want that.
A cool luxury 350Z, and we're like, ooh, that's better.
And you know what? And they made it, and then they made the G37, which was essentially the same thing, but it's like it was just petering off.
I will say this: the G37 sedans looked markedly better than the G35 sedans.
True. I was never a G35 sedan fan. Every time I even say G35, I'm instantly thinking coupe.
Yeah.
So I do feel like that might have been the difference. But by the time but I guarantee the sedan was the bigger seller. And by the time they redesigned it, it was too late. So classic Nissan Infiniti.
You know, it's a shame because they have made some, I mean, obviously some absolute legends.
Oh, Sean helped us. It was the Nissan Primera was the G20. Thank you.
You know, obviously you have your long lineage of GTRs, Skylines,
right?
Z cars,
and they never even capitalized on that. They could have made a luxury GTR.
They could have.
I mean, imagine.
But they didn't.
Imagine a
exactly.
GTR.
They made the road concept, but it was like.
I mean, they put the GTR driveline in a Nissan Juke, thinking that would do something.
That is cool, but it didn't sell.
Yeah,
I love the Juke R.
Right, yeah. It's such a cool engineering exercise, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, who here is going to spend $120,000 for a Juke? Anyone?
No one.
Okay, so we're just going to make a fast one inspired by this, but isn't as fast. Oh, crap, it still looks like a Juke.
Yeah, they're like, it's the Nismo one, and now the mirrors are red. And you're like, oh, okay.
I would like to have a point of clarification. When the Juke R came out, it had a price of around $400,000. Just so you know.
See, I didn't know that. That's no wonder they didn't sell.
Right. Well, I mean, that's because they literally had to pay someone to build it.
Like, it was literally
what I'm saying is
GTR driveline chopped in half and shoved together.
Didn't they seriously only make like 20 of them or something? It's like it's a crazy.
Yeah, it was like insane low numbers. Yeah, for sure. But it's like. But yeah, they spent like $500,000. Like they were $500,000 a pop.
It was nuts. I mean, I just still remember thinking that's super cool, and like I still fantasize about one day about like one of those popping up on Facebook Marketplace for like $80,000 and being like, "Whoa, cool."
I mean, I would looking at it and be like, "That is fantastic." I'm totally ripping the body off of it. I'm putting something cool.
Yeah. Well, it's small enough. You can put like something really, really, I'm sure, awesome from Europe on top of it, like a friggin' Clio, Renault Clio type, Renault Clio.
Oh yeah.
What was the one with like the mid-engine in it?
That's the Clio.
Yeah, but there was like a crazy version.
The Clio V6.
Yeah, was it the Clio V6?
Yeah, that's the nutsest Clio.
Yeah, that one. Where it was like mid-engine, and you could basically not drive it in Gran Turismo, or else it would just do immediate donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
it is just nuts.
I'm just sitting here thinking, because you've seen this a lot with some of the Japanese, right? Like, I got me thinking. First off, there were 5 Juke Rs ever made.
Oh, okay. You looked it up. So it was less than 20. No wonder they were $400,000.
There you go.
I mean, you don't really get into an economy of scale there.
Did we ever even get any in the U.S.? Did we get like one?
Didn't know. When I saw it, it's like, we're putting a GTR platform into a Nissan Juke. Why? I just stopped paying attention. But
I remember that was the sentiment at the time as well. But I still remember thinking, neat.
I love the idea of making factory hot rods, which got me thinking. If you remember, when Lexus or Toyota developed the VVTi heads for the 1UZ V8,
right?
They wanted to show off their fancy new engine with their fancy new valve train, 4 liters making 300 and something horsepower, equal number in torque. They wanted to show it off, right? So what do you think they put it in? Was it a truck? Was it a luxury sedan like the flagship LS that made this engine arguably famous? Well, arguably made the engine famous. There we go. Words. Englishing. Winning.
What did they put it in?
A hot rod. Like a 32
an actual
Ford.
hot rod.
Like a 32 Ford. And then showed it. Like, and Lexus then had this habit, like obviously something like that is never going to see production because as we saw with the Prowler, which we discussed, it's really difficult to make a modern hot rod with all the safety regulations, etc.
Right.
But
pretty much impossible.
Lexus then, in the mid-2000s, teamed up with Reese Millen and made an
Hill Climb fame.
Yep.
Yes.
they made an IS 430 with the 3UZ V8, the transmission out of a Mark IV Supra Turbo, and took it around and everything. And they never made that. But when it came time for the hottest version of the follow-up act down the road, but they did eventually put a V8 in it, which I thought was pretty cool because like the IS 430 was the reason I liked the IS platform. It was such a cool car. It was featured on that show Rides.
Oh yeah, I remember that show.
Like you could just close your eyes and hear the narrator from Rides whenever you talk about it.
Oh man, can I interject with something real quick? This is so funny. From the Hoovy wedding and stuff like that. So Courtney Hanson was part of the whole thing, and she was on Overhauling and a bunch of shit for over the years. Like she was on like the host of Power Block and stuff. If you guys remember that from when we were younger.
Yep.
I got roped into watching her dog during this wedding, and I was like, well,
what?
I was like, I don't know what you mean because I'm also going to be there. Like, and they were like, well, she brought this frou Hollywood dog under the pretense of like, oh, it's my service animal, you know.
Okay.
But so it was like
put it in a child's playpen and leave it in the corner.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I guess it can stay at my house during the wedding, but I'm like, I'm also not going to be there, so I'm not really dog sitting here. But it was just so funny that I had to meet her, and it was a very like meeting her at the hotel. It was very like legally blonde, like she was just wearing like pink sweat top, and like coming in and being like, oh my gosh, here, hi, and I'm like, oh, cool. I used to watch you on TV when I was a child.
I have the energy for this right now.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then now I'm taking custody of your dog, and
taking custody of your dog sounds like you're like literally just taking it from her.
No, well, I mean it was a consensual custody exchange, but it was like
I know.
The funniest part, and we will talk about this on the next Car Simps podcast, but I was like, okay, cool. I watched it go to the bathroom in front of the hotel, drove it home, everything's fine. Within 2 minutes, it immediately walks over to a piece of carpet and takes a piss. And I'm like, okay. And so then
that's how this is going to go.
Yeah. And then I cleaned it up and I was like, all right, no big deal. She's nervous, new place. 2 minutes later, big turd.
Again. Yep. Great.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm glad we're doing this.
You're getting gated off in the kitchen?
Yeah. I was like, this is going well.
Great.
But then, like, she left the wedding before we did, and she wanted to get her dog back. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just had to give her my address and be like, here's my garage code. You just go get her. So I had to go. I'm
at my friend's wedding. Fuck off.
Yeah, I was like, I had to give Courtney Hanson my garage code so she could go into my house to get her dog. It's just like one of those weird things that, like, from like childhood, you're like, well, I never thought I'd say that. It was like, one day I'm going to be watching this girl's dog and have to give her my garage code and have her come in and get it. But yeah, so that happened. That was I know, a major derail, but it was one of those things where you're like, sometimes these things come up.
It's one of those good stories. It just happens to happen when worlds collide, if you will.
Yeah. Because she's like, yeah. And because she came to Wichita, she's like, who in this podunk town can watch my little dog?
And anyone who's not,
I didn't volunteer. I was voluntold.
This is the girl that Elliott's referencing.
Yeah.
But
okay, I've seen her before.
Yeah,
like I said, did not volunteer. I was voluntold, and then it really was. He was like, "Hey, at the end of the day, it'll be a great story." I'm like, "It is. It is a great story."
Yeah. Who voluntold you to do this?
But
Hoovy.
Okay.
Yeah, Hoovy's like, well, because originally, so remember those record rains? Originally, she was supposed to stay at the hangar, where they have, it's like a luxury house in there. It's incredible. But it flooded during the rains, like an inch or 2 inches of water across the whole thing. So she could no longer stay there. Now you could leave a dog there because it would be like, okay, who cares? But now she was staying at like I don't know what hotel brand it was, but where it was like pets weren't allowed, but you have service pets, right? Right. Well, the thing is, she was going to leave it there, and definitely with all the hotels coming and going, the thing's going to be barking, and people are going to know that's not really a service dog. Yeah, people are gonna hear yapping and be like, "Really?"
She reminded me of, so. Speaking of yapping,
that
is Elliott's not service dog.
Yeah, but I don't claim he is.
Well, I think I'm kind of stoked because I feel like this is going to trigger our first ever like slightly furious Elliott rant. But she reminds me of the son of a bitch. I'm going to forget her name. But who's the old?
Like I said, she was on Overhauling, and she has this new show called she has like The Car That Got Away, and then she has like something else. And like, but the point is, her heyday was like
her heyday wasn't enhanced. Her heyday was like she was almost like she was. I don't want to. What's the best way to describe this without coming across like?
Don't worry, she's not watching. So
no, it's like I just don't want to describe a woman like she came across as like the girl who kind of was cool and like girl next door kind of chick who would come into the garage and be like, oh, that's kind of cool, blah, blah, blah. Like that's how she came across at first. And then like towards the end, it's like, okay, those are a little bit bigger and you're still pretty hot. But like, it's like she followed to less fame, I guess. Although I have no idea. I have no numbers to back this up. But do you remember Holly Saunders?
Yes.
She used to be on the Golf Channel and stuff. She was.
I do.
She used to do that. She was the girl who would interview the guys after the round. The stuff that like Amanda Ballinonis does now. I butchered her last name. So Amanda, if you're watching, 1, call me. 2, I'm sorry. But like Holly, like she left that, and she's like, and like so, I don't want to say so many, but like. A large part of her like popularity was that she was very, very beautiful. Guys are
right.
Oh well, I'm following you because I like golf.
You're in a male-dominated industry, and you're a hot girl who, at least somewhat knows about it.
Who could speak the language enough to just not be like, am I really willing to talk to this for that? Like, I don't mean to objectify it, but like we've all had the conversation with the pretty girl where you're like. Man, she's gorgeous. Hey, how are you doing? And then you have that realization in your head where you're like, I don't know how much more I can listen to this, but she's really hot. But did she just say what? Oh.
But if they're hot enough, then you're like, I don't care. I'm gonna go through with this.
Yeah. But man,
women do this. Women do the same thing with men, where they're just like, "Oh man, this guy's really hot," and "Oh God, he's still talking about cars, and I know nothing about them, and I hate them all." So they do the exact same thing on the other side of the spectrum.
Usually with us, it's like, God, I don't really like this guy, but he has a lot of money, so I'll tolerate whatever bullshit he's spewing. No, but I totally get what you're saying. Anyway, it was just a hilarious. Going from like zero interaction with her ever to being like that.
You're taking my
like,
dog.
Yeah, no, I'm like, she like called me and then I'm like texting back and forth with her, like trying to figure out plans. And I'm like, this is so freaking bizarre that I'm like talking to Gordy Hansen about this.
That is a very bizarro world.
Yeah, see it. And I was like, yeah. And I like showed her like when I did, I was like, your dog's doing great. Here's a picture. Like, it's doing great. Remember, I am not a professional dog sitter, which is like almost like where I had to like remind her. I was like, I am doing a favor to you. That is not my job.
Okay.
I am literally letting you store your dog at my house. And then I'm going to be at the wedding, which you will also be at. And then, like, then go get it whenever you want. It's fine.
And like, not for nothing, but I feel like your friendship with Hoovie is a lot closer than her friendship with Hoovie.
Oh, completely. Like,
right, like this is one of your this is one of your good friends'
a
wedding.
Handful of times. Like maybe like 3 times has he actually interacted like in person with her. Maybe. I mean, maybe more, but like it's not much. It's more like that's.
So how did she? Oh, I was like, what? It makes sense now.
No, it was
like,
April's,
there was a bride involved in this wedding. Duh.
No, yeah, it was April's friend that Courtney Hansen, because they've done so much TV work together. So it's like they were close and they did this. And there's all this like, you come to Kansas and we'll figure everything out for you. And she's just so Hollywood. And like I said, I've got this whole other story. Like she had a thing where we were originally going to hook her up with John Ficarra. And so what happened was like Hoovy and April arranged for John Ficarra to pick her up from the airport. And it was like, oh, well, he'll pick her up from the airport. And he wanted it to be nice for her. And they experienced some delays and stuff. So he got her like bottles of water, snacks, whatever. And because she's so Hollywood, she just didn't like fully get what that was. So they put them in touch. And she just was instantly like, here are my bags, here are my bags, here are my bags, here are my bags, and here's a dog, and whatever. And he drove her to the hotel, and then she was like, bring me a bottle of wine.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, I laughed so hard the next morning. I was like, John Ficarra of We All Know. And I'm like, you've become the help. You are now her assistant. And like he had to tell her, like, she's like, where's the best place to get this? And blah, blah, blah. And John was like, I'm not from here. Like, I am part of the wedding too.
I am not your attaché.
Yeah, I am not your freaking chauffeur.
Oh,
but it was just
oh my gosh,
like,
please,
he's like,
please.
Here's your contact while you're here. And she was like, great. Give me all these things. It was like, I loved it.
I honestly, the next time you're all in the same room, you should introduce him as Hoovy's new attaché.
I know. Well, I was joking with him during like things. I was like, John, if you wouldn't mind just fetching me a new iced tea, that would be fantastic. And like he's like, stop. I'm like,
oh my God,
yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't know who else to ask.
I hear you're a man who can get things.
Yeah. And like, yeah, she was like asking for a bottle of wine and he's like, everything's closed. It's midnight.
It's so good.
But yeah, no, it just I think she was the highlight of the wedding for me because of like she came in there storming Hollywood hard. But I loved it.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
I mean, I get it. Like you can, again, I don't mean to overly generalize, but like you can usually tell based on like, when girls have had that much work done, there's usually a personality trait that goes along with it.
You know where they're at. Yeah, I get what you're saying without having to say it.
But
we're picking up what you're putting down.
Yes, exactly.
But that's like I said, she was the girl next door in the garage, and like you could tell, like again, like based on like her IG and stuff like that, like.
No, she looks great. She looks fantastic in person, all done up. It really is where you're like.
Yeah, it's just the attitude that goes along with it. It's like, not that anyone should have that attitude, but it's like, look, I get it. You're on TV and like you're kind of the go-to car chick for a lot of this stuff, but like more people tune into like the WNBA pregame show than most car programming on TV now.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, we didn't even need to get into Greg's topics, so we could save those for the next one. But we are approaching.
And I can be on again, boys, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, Elliott's
this is the last one ever. No.
Elliott's like, I have car simps now.
No.
Go fetch me wine at midnight.
Yes, I will be like, boys, if you could bring me something, that would be great.
Yeah. What's good around here? I don't know. This is the internet. Shut up.
Oh, like, I really want to do.
I'm also visiting.
One of these days, I want to do one of these things where we just sort of like, we take a picture of like, I think it would be better just because it messes with Greg, and that's sort of my default setting. But we have Elliott come on the show, and he has the background. Like, you just take a picture of your kitchen, and you've done the entire show with it just being on a green screen in that. And it's like, Greg, like, makes a joke or something. I'm like, man, Elliott, don't you wish you could just smack him in the back of the head or something like that? And then next thing you know, Greg gets smacked. You're right there. So like,
yeah. I have to break and enter into Greg's home while his family's there. And I'm like, it's consensual.
It's all right. I'll give you my garage card
there. And
you're just you're picking up the dog.
Yeah,
exactly.
And not for nothing, we'll start another group chat with Greg's wife, and she'd be all for this.
Oh, 100%. If it involves smacking me in the back of the head, she's from New Jersey and she's Italian. She'll be on board with all of it.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we will definitely have Elliott on next time. To those of you still watching, just quick point of order. Next week, we will be back on Wednesdays. And we will have Keith from Wheels and Whiskey on the show. That's
Great
always
guy.
a good time. Keith's a hell of a storyteller and insights on cars and figure out ways to troll him with Volkswagen and what have you. And then the following week after that is when Greg's on vacation. Now, I still maintain we should get Greg calling in from his phone while on the beach. But
you should, if you had any dedication to this show.
I'm just gonna start be like, "What's up, guys? I'm wasted. Cars are great."
Yes, I would. I'd be so down for that level of podcast.
Oh, I just had a great idea.
That would be our best viewed podcast because it would be
like, dude,
epic shit show.
Like a lifeguard level of sun lotion on his nose.
Just this, and just for the inside joke, he has he has a friend or whatever just constantly bringing him drinks with the John Ficarra mask on.
Yeah, it's just John Ficarra in a big sun hat, and you just snapping at somebody.
Oh, that would be hilarious. You make whatever, like your travel agency or like your like that sort of concierge type service. You should make a picture that says Wichita concierge, and it's just his face.
John Ficarra. Yeah. Every time. I'm only going to think of him from now on, even though I respect him very much.
Oh my gosh, he's one of the best. He's
great.
He's another one of those.
So funny
phenomenal.
because like I just got this all described to me at breakfast like the next morning, and he was like, "You haven't met her yet?" And I'm like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, let me tell you." And he just like described everything. I was like, "John, you're the help. You're the help."
Oh, let me spin you a yarn.
I was like, remember we were trying to hook you up. Like we were trying to be like, you guys are compatible. Like this could be a thing.
Oh
he's
my
like,
god!
And then I forgot it. I was like, you're no longer compatible. You can never escape that help stigma. You
That's
will always
incredible.
be. You were her assistant. She asked him to help fix her extensions during the wedding.
Oh my god!
I swear to God. I mean, it was like seriously, it just kept going, and I was like, and I was, I don't want to say 3 sheets to the wind. It was 2 sheets to the wind, and I still was like, that's hilarious. Like, look at what's happening. I was like, dude, just tell her no at some point.
Yeah, no is a word that you could use.
No, John's just a nice guy. It was one of those things I was like, dude, you're already in the role. Just lean into it. Like, it's a hilarious story.
Oh, that's definitely one of those stories. And then, and then last but not least, on the 30th, if you've made it this far, you deserve to know, because I will be mentioning it here, and maybe not until the week of. But if you noticed over on the YouTube side of things, we had a new commenter, Tony of True Game Data. He will be joining us.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Which will be really interesting because he's a car guy through and through, but not known for cars on this thing we call the internet. So that's going to be, I'm really looking forward to that just because it merges a lot of like my interests, talking about cars, talking about,
You're going to talk about cars another time. Let's be real.
Cars.
You're going to be like, he has the 718, but anyway.
Oh, he has 2 Porsches in case you...
What's your favorite loadout?
Like, dude, I need to slay, brother.
Yeah, it's like, dude, what if I want to RNG and snipe? And he's gonna be like, that's not really a thing.
Why is his picture frozen?
Yeah.
What is your true thoughts on Verdansk?
Yeah.
Magnitude's better than Urzikstan. And on that note, we're going to close out the show like we have been the last few weeks. Greg, give Elliott and our fans your best bit of dad advice for the week.
Yeah. Best bit of dad advice for the week is if you think that you're getting enough sleep, you're not. Get more. Try to adjust your schedule so that you get more sleep because sleep is glorious. And when you have kids, you get none of it.
I was going to say, Greg, go adjust your schedule so you get more sleep.
Yeah, I've adjusted it. It's as adjusted as it can be at this point. Sleep is good. Get more of it. Also stay hydrated, same as last week. But make sure you're getting enough rest.
Amen. All right, thanks for having me on, boys.
Thanks, guys. Go check Elliott out if you haven't already, although I'm pretty sure everyone here is. But that's at Elliott Alvis everywhere. Go check him out. His content's great. And Car Simps. It is the car podcast I didn't know I needed, but now I'm a regular. I can't. My week is incomplete without listening to it. But thanks to everyone who hung out, chatted, commented, all the fun stuff that we're supposed to thank you for. I just appreciate you guys for being yourselves. And on that note, we'll catch you next